Alright, so we're here for WPF Week 5 team builder before the match. Today, Weedico main Galates are going up against Spider, coach of the Jubilife Poltergeist, which he has an amazing logo. I really like that logo a lot. I think it's so cool. And he also has an incredibly scary team, which probably has one of the best dual combos. He picked up Dragapult, Terra, King Gambit, Manaphy, Talonflame, the Dunsparce, Screamtail, Totera, Hisui Navalok, which is the other Terra captain, Raikou, and then Toxicroak. And the duo I was talking about is, of course, Dragapult plus King Gambit. Those two together are just kind of insane. Like, Dragapult is, of course, like considered one of, if not the best mon in the entirety of draft. And Terra King Gambit is probably considered the best Terra captain there is. So he got not only the best mon, but also the best Terra captain for what a lot of people would say. Now, you can make the argument like Raging Bolt, Iron Bone. There's a couple of Terra captains that are definitely on par with Gambit, I would say, but it's still really strong mon. I think outside of that, his team is just generally also really obnoxious to go against. Like, he has a lot of really good bulk with the Dunsparce, Screamtail, Hisui Navalok. I think Raikou in this game could come with like a Assault Vest. Like, I feel like there's like a special defensive kind of Assault Vest Raikou could come in because Kilowattrel is looking pretty good in this matchup. I think Manaphy is low-key maybe the biggest threat to our team. Or at least Manaphy, I think, is the biggest threat to the team we're specifically bringing. But I think we should just jump into our team so we can take a look at what we brought this week. First up, as you can see, we have ACDC, the Great Tusk. We're running Booster Energy with Rabbit Spin, Ice Spinner, Stone Edge, and Close Combat. 248 in HP, 76 in attack, and 184 in speed with an Adamant Nature. So the speed, if I remember correctly, is so that we, after a +1 from Rabbit Spin, should outspeed the Dragapult. Or I think it might be we are speed creeping a Dragapult that speed creeps our team. I can't like actually fully remember. I made these sets a couple of days ago. I've been running Booster Energy, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm not the biggest Booster Energy fan, or rather, I'm not a fan of it on Tusk. Like Tusk, because it's a mon that likes to come in and likes to take like a hit and then kill back and stuff like that. He works really well in this like kind of bulky offensive role. Running Booster Energy so you immediately give up your item isn't always great, but I just think getting that attack boost from Booster Energy in this scenario is really, really strong here. We are not running a ground stab here because for the most part I'm going to click Close Combat on the stuff that aren't specifically weak to Ice Spinner plus Stone Edge. Like Close Combat into Manaphy would do the same as Headlong Rush, and I think Close Combat is just better like overall neutral. This set is like meant to kind of break. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to win, it just has to come in and maybe get a kill or two, or maybe like dent a mon that we have really struggled like breaking down. And I just think that's kind of what Tusk does the best, honestly. It's just not being like an absolute sweeping role, but more just come in and do a lot of damage. Next up, we have Guns N' Roses, the Hisui Samurott with Rocky Helmet, Sharpness, Ice Beam, Razor Shield, Sacred Sword, and Season's Edge. 248 in HP, 152 in defense, and 108 in speed with an Impish Nature. So we're running a physically defensive Hisui Samurott this week, and that is simply just because of the Terra King Gambit, or rather King Gambit as a general thing, because I don't know what Terra type is going to go into. I do think Fairy is likely, but I also think there's a couple of other typings, maybe like Flying. And with that in mind, I think Ice Beam is a really good way to kind of get around it. And the reason we're using our Hisui Samurott is, first of all, we don't have a good defensive answer to Gambit outside of like this, or maybe we did Great Tusk. But as I said, I think there's a decent chance he could be Flying to counter Great Tusk, plus it counters Rillaboom pretty well. So this becomes like a good neutral into that. We will of course resist any Dark move or any Steel move he wants to throw off. So he has to run specifically Low Kick to hit us, which Low Kick does do decent damage, but it still does contact, so we still get the Rocky Helmet chip. Other than that, it's pretty standard. Hisui Samurott, we have Seal's Edge to set off spikes, Razor Shield for max damage, Sacred Sword because we want to be able to hit like the Dunsparce that sets up like coils and stuff like that. I think could be pretty nice. And then, as I mentioned, Ice Beam is mostly to catch the King Gambit with Terra Flying. It's also a really good way to prevent the Totera from potentially shell smashing on us. While we don't kill necessarily if it's like a bulky Totera, we put it within range of some of the other monsters that have priority, which I think is good enough. Next up, we have Iron Maiden, the Enamorous with Choice Scarf, Contrary, Moonblast, Earth Power, Sludge Bomb, and Healing Witch. 48 in HP, 2v2 in special attack, 208 in speed with Timidation. Very standard, very straightforward Choice Scarf Enamorous. I think it's just like needed. I'm gonna be honest, I kind of didn't want to bring Enamorous to this match just because it's really bad into Talonflame. Like, Talonflame just kind of walls Enamorous a little bit if you don't run like a Calm Mindset. Now, you could run like a bulky Calm Mindset and then Talonflame can't really touch it too much. But I feel like I actually kind of need the Choice Scarf here because I need a way to revenge Dragapult that's kind of reliable. I could have ran like Sucker Punch on Hisui Samurott, but even then that's not super reliable if he's like a substitute set. So this is just my best way kind of around that. We're running Moonblast, Earthbow because those two just hits everything. Sludge Bomb is our best neutral way to hit the Talonflame, and then Healing Wish because we didn't really need a fourth move, and Healing Wish can just be kind of nice in some scenarios. Next up, we have Metallica the Rillaboom with Lumberry, Grassy Surge, Terror Blast, Grassy Glide, High Horsepower, Sword Stand, 248 in HP, 152 in defense, 108 in speed when Adamant Nature. So this Rillaboom, I want you to know, I went over a lot of different sets with this Rillaboom because I think Rillaboom can be really good in this matchup, but we have to specifically beat Talonflame. Like, that's why we are Terror Water. We have to have a Terror type that's good into Talonflame. I think Water is the best like overall neutral typing here, because if we were Rock, we're just making ourselves weak to like King Gambit, like Iron Heads and Earthquake and Terror and whatnot. And Water is also just better defensively, I think, into a Talonflame. We're running Lumberry because Lumberry is the best way to secure we don't get burned by Flame Body or Will-O-Wisp. If we protect the patch, we risk Will-O-Wisp burns. I think the Lumberry is just like a better overall way to kind of get around burns. Like, it just kind of stops any type of burns, even if he's like glare on like the Dunsparce and we don't kill or something, we'll at least be able to not get parried. So that's kind of where we are Lumberry. This is meant to set up on something, then Talonflame comes in and then we like hit it with a Terror Blast and then we kill it because it couldn't burn us. Next up, we have Led Zeppelin, the Kilowattrel with Choice Specs, Volt Absorb, Hurricane, Terror Blast, Volt Switch, and Thunderbolt. 8 in HP, 2v2 in special, 176 in speed with Timid Nature. So, as I mentioned, I am pretty much expecting a Raikou to come with like an Assault Vest specifically for our Kilowattrel. Now, I still ended up going with Terror Flying in that regard because honestly, I'm more so considering Terraing Rillaboom in this matchup than our Kilowattrel. I'm still bringing Kilowattrel with Terror Flying with the intent that Flying could be pretty good, because if he doesn't bring Raikou, then Flying Hurricane Specs is just like insane. It's just a nuke. Like, we have to hurt the Hurricanes definitely, but it's just a nuke. He doesn't have anything that switches into it, honestly. And lastly, we have Aerosmith, the Goodra with Leftovers, Gooey, Dragon Tail, Drago Meteor, Flamethrower, and Toxic. 248 in HP, 196 in speed, special defense, and 64 in speed with the Calm Nature. So we're running a Toxic facing kind of Goodra here. We don't have any like move to hit Screen Tail, but that's because the Screen Tail is specially defensive build. We don't beat it with like Sludge Wave anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So I opted to go for like more of a Toxic route. So I'll Toxic a Screen Tail coming in. I can Dragon Tail anything else that wants to come in. If something starts setting up or something, we can Dragon Tail it. I opted for Gooey because I don't think Sapsip is like that needed here. Like Torterra could be maybe a little bit annoying, but I think Gooey is just better, because if it's like physical Dragapult and we catch it on a move, we can potentially lower its speed. Same with like a Manaphy if it's for whatever reason physical. Talonflame if it's physical, you know, King Gambit, I guess, even though King Gambit is already slow as all hell. It doesn't really matter, but yeah, I just think Gooey was slightly better in this matchup. And this is our like Spadef wall for like Manaphy, like Raikou. That's why we have Dragon Tail in case they're like Calm Mind says we can like get them out of there. Yeah, that is going to be our team for our week 5 battle. As always, if you liked the video, make sure to leave a like on the video, leave a comment thought of the team builder, and subscribe to the channel for any future videos. I'm not heading to battle. We'll see you in just a little bit. Alright, so we're here for a week 5 battle going up against Spider, and as you can see here, unfortunately we have to do this post-com. The unfortunate truth just is I accidentally muted my mic in OBS. It was not like a equipment failure or anything, it was just a fail on my part. I just didn't notice it was muted. I didn't do like a pre-test. I do that sometimes, but there are times where I don't do it, and this was one of those times. So we're gonna do this post-com. I'm gonna try and just like go through the game like not as fast as possible, but kind of I don't want to link it too long on certain points. Like I want to talk about certain like specific points about the games that I think is important. Now, as you can see here, we have our matchup here, like the quick, you know, what are they bringing? What am I bringing? And I know we just had the team builder, but as you can see here, we have AC/DC with Boost Energy, Guns N' Roses with Rocky Helmet, Iron Maiden Choice Scarf, Metallica with Lumberry, Led Zeppelin with Choice Specs, and Aerosmith with Leftovers. If you want a bit more information about why these items are chosen, you should watch the team builder. But yeah, when I saw what Spider brought here, I'm just gonna slowly let this play as I talk. When I saw what Spider brought here, I immediately noticed no Torterra, which meant Kilowatt was absolutely amazing. Outside of Dragapult, there is no electric resist whatsoever. It could be, it could have been Avalok, but Avalok, I believe we were told were Terra Flying, which just helped Kilowattrel even more. Like that immediately let me know that Kilowattrel is going to be so important in this game. So that's why I led with it, because realistically, if he doesn't lead Dragapult specifically, I just get a massive Volt Switch off on something. We are Choice Specs on Kilowattrel, of course. We do a lot of damage. Worst lead for me would be maybe like Screen Tail is kind of annoying to switch into. Toxicroak is probably like okay, like it's annoying because I need to switch into it because like I don't want to stay in here And I notice he's air balloon, which also immediately tells me, oh, this is not choice scarf. I actually don't have to worry about taking a hit or anything. I can just click volt switch. This is the freest volt switch I've probably ever had in my entire life. Now I do kind of go over some calcs and whatnot because I do want to like see, okay, what is he gonna go into, and based on when he goes into, what do I want to like go from there. Like I know I'm gonna click volt switch. I was just more so prepping and preparing myself to what I wanted to do in case he stayed in. Like if he stayed in and took the hit, then which mon am I going to go into? I probably would have gone Great Tusk if he stays in. I believe that is what was my thought process was at the time, but the problem is by being booster on Great Tusk, that means he's not like my favorite switch-ins. So that's like the main thing I sometimes have with booster energy is I don't like it because it's like this one-time item, and then if you want to use them on like in a defensive purpose or you want to like break something specific, you kind of just end up in this like weird scenario where you have to pop it early. But yeah, as you can see here, he goes into his Dunce Barge. We get a critical hit, which the crit is really good because it's it's really good damage on the Dunce Barge, don't get me wrong. But also it lets me know that he's very SPDEF because we did less than half with 8 choice specs. So that immediately lets me know, okay, this is a SPDEF Dunce Barge. That means I can potentially go into H-Samurott, get off a Ceaseless Edge, or click the Sacred Sword, or I can, as I just said, pop the booster early with Tusk. Now I remember debating here if I should go Tusk or not because I didn't want to pop the booster, and again this is why I don't actually like running booster that much, and this is why the first time you've seen it. I even went as far as to start calculating a little bit if Iron Maiden or Enamorous could take it out, but because it was SPDEF, I'm pretty sure it would always live a Moonblast, and honestly it could just roost. If it had roost, it could just roost on whatever Enamorous want to do. But at the same time, I guess if I brought in Enamorous, he could then think, oh, this is going to be a physical superpower variant. But I ultimately end up going with Great Tusk because I think Great Tusk is just like the best bet here. Now, I know what you're thinking. The obvious click here is close combat. Like there is a Dunce Barge in front of me. I have my attack booster. I should just get my damage. But the problem is he has two pretty decent, I would say one really good switch into Tusk and one that's like high risk, high reward. So the really good switch is of course Talonflame. If I click Headlong Rush, which I don't have, or if I click Close Combat, then he is pretty free to go into Talonflame. With Close Combat, he could get a Flame Body burn, which is really annoying. I don't want my Great Tusk burn. And his secondary switch you can go into was something like a Dragapult. Dragapult is really risky for him because if I had knockoff and I click knockoff, then I just kill Dragapult straight up. Unless it's like Cold Berry. If it's Cold Berry, it would probably live one. But ultimately, I don't think he would ever go Dragapult, so I was mostly debating the Talonflame here. Like, does he go Talonflame? Does he stay in with the Dunce Barge? Because I think the Dunce Barge, now that it's revealed as SPDEF, is very needed when he saw both Enamorous and Kilowattrel coming. So I end up going for Stone Edge, predicting Talonflame. He does not switch, Stone Edge does not kill, and he glared. Now, I will say this, while I was going over this, I 100% was debating, like, I wasn't debating, I was like, he's 100% going for glare if he stays in. If he stays in, he's going for glare. If he glares this, if he glares like a switch or anything, that is perfect for him. And unfortunately, now that I'm paired on Great Tusk, it doesn't actually do that much. They opt to just click Close Combat. If he goes Talonflame on Dragapult on this turn, that is an amazing play. Spider is a very good coach, so he could theoretically do that. But now his Dunce Barge is so low that it's also probably like not worth saving. So that's kind of why I was like, I'm just going to click Close Combat. I could have clicked like an additional Stone Edge, but I didn't want to miss. And I'm not sure Ice Spinner did it. Ice Spinner might have killed it, so maybe Ice Spinner could have been the better click here. Because it actually also more neutrally goes into Dragapult. I definitely could see the idea behind clicking Ice Spinner here. But the idea behind clicking Ice Spinner, but as you saw, we should click Close Combat. So let's just like move on a little bit. Yeah, so as you can see here, we click the Close Combat pretty... Oh my god, there we go. He gets a Boom Burst though, because he's faster than us with the Para. Now, he was Shovelberry, and I will admit, I did debate if he was Shovel or not, but I also thought that he might just want to sack this, or maybe he just wanted a clean switch, because like realistically, if he goes Talonflame and I click that Stone Edge, I immediately takes out the Talonflame. Like, I don't have to worry about that the rest of the game, and Great Tusk just does so good into his team at that point. Now, Scream Tail could be kind of annoying because, as you saw, we do not have a Heavy Slam. We don't have our ground stab, so actually hitting the Scream Tail is kind of problematic and could potentially have been a little bit of a builder mistake that I should definitely have had something with Scream Tail. I tend to sometimes underestimate Scream Tail a little bit, just because it's like, I know it's a really good mon, but for whatever reason, whenever you look at it, you're just like, I can probably deal with this mon, and then you don't deal with them on really well. But yeah, he Boom Bursters got good damage off. I killed the Dunce Bars, and then he goes into his Caraxes, which is his Dragapult. So here is a pretty like important, or you can say important moment in battle, because I can stay in with with Great Tusk on this Pult, sack Great Tusk, but then I don't really get any knowledge on the Dragapult whatsoever, because now with my defensive lowered, I can't tell if it's like specs, I can't tell if it's banded, I can't well, if it's life orb, I of course can tell, right? But I'm just saying, like in general, I can't really tell what this Dragapult is. And also switching does also risk a little bit if it's like a Dragon Dance set. Though I do think Dragon Dancing on Great Tusk specifically is pretty risky in a sense, but I think it's fine. Like, I think if you win for Dragon Dance, that is a kind of a wild play, but I can also see you do that just because you could always get the Para proc. You could think I'll want to save the Great Tusk, but then again, the Para might be what you make you go like, he probably won't save it. But I actually opted to go in for Enamorous. Now, I will fully admit that was because I was trying to predict a Drago Meteor, but also Enamorous lived 2 of any hits the Dragapult wanted. Well, it lived 1 hit guaranteed, and I didn't think he was going to click Thunderbolt on a Great Tusk, right? Like, I think that's a little too risky of a play. So if anything, he clicked the Shadow Ball as neutral, which is what he ends up doing. He clicks the Shadow Ball for the neutral play, because it would have taken out Tusk, hits this. If I had gone H-Samurott, that probably would have been my better play, because then I can just stay in with H-Samurott and hit him. He has to feel like a sucker punch. Now, I actually want to go for a double here, because I am convinced that either Scream Chill or like Talonflame comes in here. Like, I'm 100% convinced, because like there's no shot you want to stay in here. With me going aggressive into my Enamorous, you have to respect that I'm probably Choice Scarf. So I'm thinking, okay, if I go into H-Samurott and catch either the Talonflame or I can catch either the Scream Chill, and like I'm going over it in my head, is like, what's the risk versus reward here? And realistically, I think maybe I should have just attacked in a sense, but also there's a good chance where there's also a meaning of like, I don't know anything about this Dragapult, so sometimes being safe is also better. So I end up going to the H-Samurott, and I do that again, as I said, to predict Talonflame or Scream Tail. And ultimately, you can say this was maybe a misplay, or maybe I should have been safer with it, because he clicks Thunderbolt. And realistically thinking, that does make sense, because Enamorous is a flying type, so clicking Thunderbolt like is really good. I think if I predict the Talonflame or the Scream Tail, I could have gone Kilowattrel as well, because he's never clicking Drago Meteor, right? Like, he's never clicking Drago Meteor on Enamorous, so Kilo takes any 1 hit. Now, if you had clicked Shadow Ball, though, Kilo does get 2-hit KO by most Shadow Ball variants, I think. So I'm definitely in a little bit of a pickle here, where I'm letting my team get a little down a little bit too much, just because the Dragapult is already a menace. Like, if my team doesn't deal with Dragapult that well, so letting it chip my team down, specifically 2 of the mons that can kind of take a hit and kill it back this much, is really bad for me. Like, it is not a good thing. So I ultimately decide here that I think I should just stay in. Alright, I should just stay in. If he kills H-Samurott, he kills H-Samurott, it is what it is. I need to get a clean switch in so I can kind of move on with the game and get a better position. So I go for Caesar's Edge because it's super effective, it gets me the spikes. And he actually opts for swap. So yeah, so this one he actually does respect potentially being Choice Scarf, which is kind of funny. He didn't respect, to me in this moment, right, it felt like he didn't respect the Enamorous being Choice Scarf, but he respected his H-Samurott, which I thought was pretty funny, but we'll learn a little bit later why. Now we get a crit with this Caesar's Edge, and at first I didn't think the Caesar's Edge mattered at all. Like, I didn't think the crit mattered. Then I started doing the calcs. And look, and the Caesar's Edge crit matters in the sense that this thing, as I said, is Terra Flying. We know it's Terra Flying. I'm packing Ice Beam mostly because of the Terra, but it works out very well in this situation, because if he Terra Flying's here with his 4 special defense, there's a chance we can kill him because we got that crit. So I go for this. I already have 1 layer of spikes up. If he goes to Rabbit Spin, I can always click Caesar's Edge on the following turn, because I can just like Caesar's Edge a couple of times. Maybe he'll spike, but I am Rocky Helmet, so he'll chip himself down as well. I don't need his H-Samurott. There's no King Gambit to this game, which by the way is wild. The fact that King Gambit didn't come is kind of insane, I feel like. But yeah, I get the prediction correct. I click Ice Beam. It will butt ton of damage. It turns out he's pretty spit out. Like, it turns out, like, I knew that based on the Caesar's Edge crit, don't get me wrong, but he's like very spit out, which meant that this Ice Beam unfortunately didn't take him out. But we do more that he can recover, so we 100% pressure him out. Now, there's a big part of me here there's like, should I go for a Razor Shell on like the neutral? Go like if he goes into Talonflame or if he goes into like Scream Tail, Razor Shell does more damage. Should I get out of a Scissors Edge, get another spike? But realistically, getting 2 spikes up is not like that great. Like if you have 2 spikes up, you have to kind of go for the 3rd one, otherwise it doesn't work out as well. You feel me? So I'm really debating on what's my best play here, because like Ice Beam is so lucrative to click here. Because if he stays in, I just kill this thing, and this thing is really annoying for a lot of my team. A lot of my team is physical, like Rillaboom, Hammer himself, Great Touch. Now Great Touch because of course Paris is not as great, but Rillaboom can really do a lot if this thing is gone, specifically because it's Terra Flying. Terra Flying was not something I expected. That actually is really good into my Rillaboom set. So pretty happy that we already have this pretty low. So that's also why I ended up going for the Ice Beam, right? Because I feel like I would rather just set the threat in front of me. I tried to predict it a little too much in the beginning and it burnt me, so now I have to play a little bit more careful, making sure I get good hits off. And he goes to Toxicroak, and now I understand the switch, right? Because if I click Scissors Edge, you resist it. If I click Razor Shell, I'm assuming it's Dry Skin. I realistically have not seen the ability, so I actually don't know if it was Dry Skin or not. But I'm just kind of assuming it's going to be. So I understand the switch completely, because it takes any one hit. It would take the Ice Beam as well. And as you can see, we have Sacred Sword as our last moveset. It actually resists our entire moveset besides Ice Beam. So I think this was a good switch. Now, I start debating with myself, well, H-Samurott actually has pretty good value still, because it's faster than Avalok, can take it out. If I can get a Scissors Edge off, it's really nice. It takes like a hit from Talonflame, if I remember correctly. If it's like defensive Talonflame, it'll take a hit, and we can Razor Shell it for the kill. So I actually opt to go into Great Touch just because I value Great Touch less right now. With the Para, he's not really outspeeding anything. He's still outspeeding the Avalok, I believe, but even then, it doesn't touch the Avalok that well. Even with Stone Edge, it doesn't do that much. Like, Avalok's physical defense is just that high. So I opt to go into Great Tusk here, knowing that this close combat is probably about to 2-hit KO me. It does clearly 2-hit KO me, as you can see here. And I'm just resigned to letting Great Tusk go. So I go for, I think I go for Rabbit Spin. I don't know why exactly I went for Rabbit Spin. Because like, in case he like did anything, I think clicking close combat might have been a little bit better. Or if I had Headlong Rush. Yeah, again, I'm not sure why I clicked Rapid Spin, I'm gonna be honest. I just kind of clicked the move, okay? Like, let's be honest here. I figured he was just gonna take me out and that was it. But yeah, he's now -2. And I don't know if you remember turn 1 where I let Kilowattrel and he didn't have a switch. Well, his specially defensive wall is gone, so this is a very free Kilowattrel switch and just come in, do a frick ton of damage. He can let this go, he can let the Avalok go, he can let me chip down the Scream Tail, which would be huge for our team. He can let me take out the Talonflame, or he can let me get chip on Dragapult, and any chip on Dragapult is very nice because it puts it within range of Rillaboom. It makes it so Namor's guaranteed kills no matter what. Like, there's just any chip on Dragapult is just really nice. So I'm just kind of like going over here, like, should I Terra here? Because like I'm thinking, am I going to use the Terra on Rillaboom? But because I'm not 100% certain whether I want to do that or not, I decide to stay in. I actually debate going for the Thunderbolt, because if I stay in with so basically the way I'm thinking is if I Volt Switch with Kilowattrel into like anything, there's a good chance he can send in like Avalok and recover with it, which I don't really want. I don't want the Avalok to be able to recover. So I'm debating going for the Thunderbolt, because if I go for Thunderbolt, I can guarantee the Talonflame is not coming in, Avalok is not coming in. That means either Bolt or Scream Tail has to come in. And if he goes Bolt, he doesn't one-shot me, so he has to risk me hitting him as well. By the way, that crit doesn't matter. It's -2 defense, like, let's be honest here, come on. So if he goes Bolt here, he has to risk me going for like a Thunderbolt, which ultimately means he has to risk like a Para. I get a lot of chip on Dragapult, because at this point we kind of learned that it's not, I think based on the damage we saw on Enamorous, we know it's not specs. Now he does opt to go for this, because realistically, him preserving health on Scream Tail is mainly there to help for Rillaboom, is what I learned at one point. We'll see here a little bit later. So that's why he didn't want to lose health on the Scream Tail. So he goes Dragapult. And I also don't have a good switch to Dragapult. I think in hindsight, there's a part of me that actually kind of wish I had just been a little bit more aggressive with this play and had stayed in just Thunderbolt. Because again, any chip on Dragapult is really nice. Goodra has like an okay matchup still, like being able to toxic stuff, being able to flamethrower on Draco Meteor and Dragon Tail stuff around. But I actually opt to go into Goodra here just because if he goes with Draco Meteor, that's fine. He gets -2, which the -2 is not that bad for us. But he does opt to go for the Shadow Ball, which again, he goes for neutral play, which makes sense, right? And he actually gets the Spidef prop. Now, I'm gonna be honest, when I was calcing this, I miscalculated a little bit, right? So there was two things. One, I miscalculated his nature, because like he can very well be modest on this Dragapult and outspeed our entire team still. And I was calculating timid. So timid, Draco Meteor, I can live. Like I live pretty much guaranteed from where I'm at, even with the -1 Spidef. However, modest is a different story. He had a very good chance of killing me here. And as you saw, I went for Toxic. And I maybe went for the Toxic a little too fast. And the reason I went for Toxic is because I felt it was the best neutral play into anything he had. As you see, we live the Draco on 7. And I want you to know the regret I had that I did not click either Dragon Tail or Draco Meteor here. I think both of them would have been fine because Tail puts him within range of a lot of things, like in range of Rillaboom, range of Enamorous. It's really, really nice because but the Toxic will still put him within range of Enamorous, but we're still kind of far away from being able to win with Rillaboom, which Rillaboom I think ultimately does kind of become the win con with the way the game is looking right now. Because now that we have Chip on Dragapult, we're slowly whittling down, we can kind of get into a position where Jurassic Light might be able to take out Dragapult. Now, he goes for a U-turn to finish us off, which ultimately tells us that he is not choice, right? Like, I think this is the... No, he switched between Shadow Ball and Thunderbolt, so we know he's not choice. But yeah, he goes for Thunderbolt, goes for U-turn here, gets the Gooey, you know, Gooey doing its last little dance, even though it switches out, which is kind of funny. And I'm gonna be honest, I actually think it's interesting that he did go for U-turn, because in a sense, like Dragapult was the biggest pressure mon that he had, but it was also -2, right? So I could easily have gone like Enamorous, I could easily have gone like Rillaboom, actually would have been able to go into because of the -2. Yeah, but I'm very surprised with the mon he ends up going into here, because I thought for sure he was gonna go Scream Tail here. I thought Scream Tail was like the best neutral play into anything. I don't have a mon that immediately kills it, and he doesn't have a he has like kind of priority in the sense that he can go Scream Tail, which would probably force me into going probably Kilowattrel if he goes Scream Tail, or Rillaboom, one of the two, because like H-Samurott of course doesn't deal well with Scream Tail at all, and I don't want Enamorous to potentially get Thunder Wave. So he ends up actually going Hisuian Avalok, which immediately makes me be like, huh, I mean, I just go Kilo and I just click Volt Switch. This is like the freest hit I've ever had. Like, I really thought Hisuian Avalok here was an interesting play. Now, I will explain later when we see some of his sets why he did it, because I understand now when I know what he brought, why he went Hisuian Avalok here. But in the moment, I was a little confuddled. I was a little like, why would he go Hisuian Avalok? It's like the one mon that I just can guarantee get a kill on no matter what. Like, Talonflame I can kill with Kilowattrel as well, but at least Talonflame can be fast in Kilowattrel, so he can get a massive hit off first. This mon, I just like click a button. Like, I just click. And again, I'm debating whether I should go for Thunderbolt or Volt Switch, because like Thunderbolt, if I stay in, I'm at max health, I take any one hit if I remember correctly. But I ultimately end up going for Volt Switch just because I think I'm starting to have this realization that maybe Kilowattrel is actually the better endgame here than Rillaboom. Just because if I do live a hit from Dragapult as I'm suspecting, I might be able to. Like, I think Draco can potentially be a roll. I think preserving health on Kilowattrel is just for the better. Now I'm thinking of going Enamorous, but the problem is if I go Enamorous and he goes like Talonflame, I can get a hit off on it, sure, but it's not the greatest, and I kind of lose any way of dealing with Dragapult. Like, Dragapult can then at that point, if I get any chip on the rest of my mon, just spam moves and it wins. So I opt to go for Rillaboom this scenario just because Rillaboom seemed like the better neutral play into most things. I think it can set up on like because we are the Lumberry with Terra Water. If Talonflame comes in, I'm just gonna Terra and hit it. I think like get rid of Talonflame as fast as possible. If Dragapult comes in, we can take any one hit and we can kind of do the same thing, Terra and potentially hit it. I probably wouldn't Terra if Dragapult comes in, because I don't know if he has Flamethrower. And even he has Flamethrower, we take one hit and we can like hit it with high horsepower. And then hit with Grassy Glide, which again, all I'm doing is I'm just trying to get it within an Amorous range. But I do think the mods he has exactly preserved does kind of hinder Enamorous a lot, because we can't click Moonblast because of Talonflame, we can't click Sludge Bomb because of Dragapult, and we can't click Earth Pop because of also Talonflames. It's kind of just like Talonflame with Dragapult is really annoying for Enamorous to deal with, so I kind of wanted to force one of them out, but you actually end up going Scream Tail on Rillaboom, which, I mean, at first I was like, okay, that's fine, even if he parries me, that's fine. Turns out he's tricked. Now, here, before we go, take 5 seconds to go in the comment section down below. What do you think he's gonna trick me? Cherry Specs, Cherry Scarf, you can do whatever. What do you think he's gonna trick me here? I'm gonna count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So he tricks and we get a Flame-Orb. So now I understood why he did not want to switch in earlier to the Scream Tail, because if he had switched in on that turn where he had the free switch, the Flame-Orb would have activated and I would have seen, oh, it's Flame-Orb. And I don't know if I immediately thought about Trick. Now I do think it might have popped into my head, but I think more than anything, I would have thought of gone over like Scream Tail's moveset. I would have seen, does it have Facade? Is it like Bulk of Facade or something? And I was like, but it ends up being Trick Flame-Orb, which I want you to know, I was livid. Like I was like when I say livid, not like I wasn't actually mad, but I was like livid, because like I was like, you cannot be serious. All of these mental gymnastics I've gone through to avoid a burn from the Talonflame. That's why I'm Lumberry and not like Protective Patch, because a Lumberry is the best way to avoid both a contact burn and a Will-O-Wisp burn from the Talonflame. It means I can like set up a Sword Stance as anything. Talonflame can come in. I can Terra Blast. If he's Will-O-Wisp, I'm fine. If I accidentally hit him with like a Grassy Glide at some point, I could have been fine. So that's kind of like the idea, right? And then this mother effer goes and run Trick Flame-Orb with his Scream Tail. I want you to know, I was literally going bananas. I was like, did someone leak my set? I was so annoyed by it. Now, I end up here going for Grassy Glide because I immediately think, okay, he's Trick Flame-Orb, but he could very well also be like Encore. I feel like Encore does make sense in the Scream Tail set. He saw I went for Sword Stance. He knows I'm like he knows I'm not Choice Class because he literally tricked me. So I go for Grassy Glide in case he's Encore, and he just wishes. Which in hindsight, maybe I should have just gone for another Sword Stance immediately, because like even if he Encores me in, it's not like the worst thing ever. Because as soon as the Encore ends, like if I Sword Stance and then he like if he Encores me into Sword Stance, and then a Sword Stance, like he doesn't kill me, right? As soon as the Encore ends, I can just click Grassy Glide on that turn, right? Because I think terrain would have been up long enough. In hindsight, I should have just clicked Sword Stance immediately. Like I should have just gotten to the +6. Like +6 burn is still decent damage, right? But the problem is +2 burn doesn't do that much. Like, because this is also a very physically defensive Scream Tail, by the way. Like it is max defense, I believe. It is literally here to take on the Rillaboom, is I think what it was designed for. Which I mean, it does very well. Trick Flame-Orb definitely takes on Rillaboom. I think it's interesting he went with that because I ran sub Rillaboom a lot this season. So it's interesting because if I had sub, like I'm not saying in this specific scenario he would have gotten it off before sub, but I'm just saying in a scenario where I'd been able to sub beforehand, this strategy wouldn't have been as good. So it's a risky, but really cool strategy. I really do like it in a sense, just because it is so niche that I never would have thought about it. But at the same time, it's so risky, and that's what I love about it. I think it's a really cool set, and I think we should just like kind of skip through a little bit here. So I do end up going for I think I ultimately end up going for the +6 Sword Stance, just because at this point I might also just try and get as big a hit off as possible. I opt to not Terror Rillaboom because there's literally no reason to at this point. Rillaboom is useless, unfortunately. I really wished he would have gone very well in this game. Though this was a tough game for him with Avalok and with Talonflame and with Dragapult and everything. And this Wild Ever also turns out to be like Wish Protect. Like he's Wish Protect, Trick, Dazzling Gleam. Like I'm just like, oh god, I want to see this pink flop die now. Like I want to see it die. Like I don't actually even get my hit off. Like I got hit off earlier, I believe. Was it the I get like a last stage +4 Grassy Glide off, which I mean it does a bit of chip, but then he heals back. and then he does the protect thing, right? And then it's like kills me with the decleam at the end, right? So yeah, the Rillaboom literally ended up doing nothing. He got like 25% off a Scream Tail. That's it. Whew, let's go, right? Not great. Like, let's just be honest, that is not great. So here I am going over like how to even deal with the Scream Tail. I don't have a mon that immediately threatens this thing, if I'm being completely honest. I go over Kilowattrel and I go like, okay, I am Terra Flying. How much does Terra Flying choice specs do to this thing? And if it's max physical defensive, as I was like suspecting at this point, I have a slight chance to kill. I do think the favor is like in his, because like I do, if I remember correctly, we do like 67 to 76 or something like that, something around now. And he's sitting right about 75, like right under. So it is very much in his favor. I even debate going for the Volt Switch here to chip him down, but I'm afraid if he goes for Wish on the Volt Switch turn, I kind of just lose this thing, because then at that point it's very difficult to break. So I opt to Terra, and I actually opt to like straight up click Hurricane, because Hurricane again has a very slight chance to kill, I believe. And it's just like I need to output as much damage as possible. Now, could you in hindsight say, well, wouldn't go for Terra Blast twice, just do the same trick kind of? And yeah, because like I already know all 4 of his moves, so I know he can't really do a whole lot. Like he can declean me, that's like the worst thing he can do. Actually, tricking would have been the worst thing he can do. In hindsight, I think if he tricked here, giving me the Lumberry would have been slightly better for him, in a sense. But yeah, I go for the Hurricane here. He goes for Protect, which I do think is interesting, because like I understand he wants to scout what I lock myself into. But I'm also like, does it matter? Like, you're not switching in any of the other ones hard. So I guess ultimately, maybe if I had clicked like Thunderbolt or Volsweet, he might have gone Bolt. But even then, I think that's like very risky. Like, I think you put yourself in a position where you're just letting your Bolt take damage. And you, of course, you're never going into Talonflame. Like, there's no shot you're ever going into Talonflame at this point. Because like, Terra Flying any move probably takes it out, and Electric moves of course takes it out, right? But I mean, scouting with Protect is fine. Like, I don't see a problem with it, but I do think it's like a little funny. I don't think you get that much out of it. Like, you play probably doesn't change that much. But yeah, as I said, I'm just kind of clicking Hurricane here. I just have to hit them. And we do hit the first one, which I'm very happy about. Like, hitting this one is probably the most important one, right? As you can see here, it lives on like 2. Oh, this Scream Tail is so annoying. Like, again, I love Scream Tail, but I also hate Scream Tail. It's one of those mons that like, you love to have it, you hate to play it, you know? It's just so annoying. But yeah, I'm just locked in at this point. Again, this is what the situation where maybe clicking Terra Blast would have been a little bit better, just because I would have guaranteed taking it out in 2 hits no matter what. Where here, Hurricane, I have to risk a miss, because like, I can't really switch. Samurott die, I don't want to take damage on Enamorous. Like, I could maybe have gone Enamorous on like a switch, but the problem is, if he wishes here on a choke, as I go Enamorous and then protects, then I'm screwed. But I Hurricane, and I miss, you know? It is what it is. Now, again, had he wished here, that would actually have been really good for him, because he could have then protected, gotten his health. Thankfully, I hit my 3rd Hurricane, so we're kind of good in that regard, right? We hit our Hurricane there, we take out the Scream Tail, and like, ultimately, health doesn't matter that much in Kilowattrel. Like, it matters in the sense of the Talonflame more than the Dragapult, right? And you're about to see why with the Talonflame. So he brings in the Talonflame, right? And I go, okay, I mean, it's naturally faster. He doesn't want to take like the spike damage with Bolt. I think it makes sense. Flap Blitz takes me out here probably, so it's like, I'm cool with that, right? Actually, Brave Bird would too. I'm not an Electro type anymore, so he can even click Brave Bird if he really wants to. So I'm like, yeah, this play makes sense. I understand why he goes Talonflame. Actually, if he's like bulky Sword Stance, he could potentially have Sword Stance here. Now, I do think because I'm choice specs Terra Flying Hurricane, like he has to be extremely especially bulky to take that. I debate for a second to go into Hammer, because I can see we have a Rocky Helmet, so I need like chip on this thing is pretty nice. But I also kind of go over the what am I needing Kilowattrel for? Like, why am I saving Kilowattrel, right? I have no reason to really save it, because like it dies to Dragapult, it dies to this thing, right? Like this thing I'm assuming should be faster. And as you can see here, it's acrobatics. And I want you to know, I immediately was like, wait, this is no item. This is no item, which by the way, I did get confirmation afterwards. This is no item acrobatics Talonflame, which is what I think no item into my team is kind of wild, just because like, I think it's okay, because I do have a decent amount of knockoff uses. So I think in that regard, it's kind of fine. But like an offensive set with no item acrobatics, it's actually kind of wild, right? And the reason I say that is because I have decent rockers. Like I have a Great Tusk and a Jirachi with Stealth Rocks, which in my opinion are two very good Stealth Rock users. And I brought rocks and Jirachi before, so I was like a little flabbergasted about this, I won't lie. But yeah, I go into H-Samurott. There is a chance I live this hit. Now, if he's like max attack, it's a roll, I think. And as you see, we get the roll 7. We get the Rocket Helmet chip, which immediately also pops his Gale Wings, which actually, honestly, probably is a little bit more important than anything else. But the fact that we live and get this Razor Shell off is massive, because we take out the Talonflame at that point, which now means that Enamorous is kind of in a prime position to take on this Dragapult. Now, you could have made the argument here, if I had Sucker Punch, well, then H-Samurott would have just won. This is the second game where having Sucker Punch in H-Samurott probably would have just won me the game. Let's just be honest. So it's something I definitely have to, I think, consider for the future, that Sucker Punch is just nice, you know? He gets to click Shadow Ball pretty freely. He probably did this just in case I went Enamorous, which is a little bit funny, because like, we already saw Enamorous would live another Shadow Ball, so the fact that he didn't go with Thunderbolt, I think, is the more interesting play. Like, why he didn't go for Thunderbolt, I don't know. I could have gone Enamorous and it would have lived the second Shadow Ball. Now, I just have to click Moonblast. Like, here, by the way, I want to quickly preference, ever since the turn where he stayed in with Dragapult in the middle of the game, I had suspecting this was Roselli Berry, because we saw it was not Choice Scarf. He switched moves. We see it's not Boot because he takes like spike damage and whatnot. So I had this suspicion that this was gonna be Roselli Berry, but I still just had to click Moonblast. And I want you to know this here is a roll as well. Now this is a roll in my favor, if I remember correctly, where the acrobatics to H-Samurott was a roll in his favor. This is a roll in my favor, right? And he is Roselli Berry as I suspected. I click my Moonblast, and Enamorous takes out the Dragapult. So we do get the win. We thankfully get a win. This was probably the most intense battle. I'm really, really sad this was actually the one game where like there's not a live recording, because I think this is the most intense battle in the entire league so far for me. Like, even though I lost to Muffins, I don't think that game was as intense, because I just kind of realized, oh wait, I lose to this Metagross, there's nothing I can do. Where this, like, these two last turn, the H-Samurott living and killing the Talonflame, and the Enamorous killing the Dragapult, literally rolls down to, like, we were down to rolls to who won this game. So I thought that actually made for a really good game. But yeah, that's the game. We take a 1-0 dub over Spider. Spider is an amazing coach. Definitely go check him out in the description down below, as well as all the other coaches. Always support all the coaches as far as you can. And yeah, I think that's gonna be it. This ended up being a 35 minute long me talking about the game. But hey, I think it flowed pretty well. As always, if you like the video, make sure to leave a like on the video, leave a comment with a thought of the battle, and subscribe to the channel for any future videos. And I'll head out. So peace, YouTube.